This is Psalm FM. I'm Greg Kaufman, and this is part 2 of our 2-part series of discussions with missionary David Small, missionary to the war-torn jungles of Burma. For this second part of our series, we'll discuss David's perspective on missions, his future plans, and get some words of wisdom. With you being on the other side of the world, being in a place, you mentioned the state of the animals over there. You're in the jungle. You're in a war zone. Yeah. It's kind of what people stereotypically think of a missionary. The first time they say, oh, we want to go to missions. Now, usually they'll say Africa maybe instead of Asia per se. But they think, oh, I'm going to have to go into some far-off culture somewhere away from my friends and my family, away from everything that I recognize and that I'm comfortable with. I mean, what would you say to someone who feels called to missions? They feel the Holy Spirit impressing on them, you need to go and you need to do this, but they're really afraid to follow through. I mean, how would you advise someone like that?
Yeah, good question. This year, as I left the Free Burma Rangers and was forming the Jungle Discipleship School, and we would go back into Burma, and the first time that I went back into Burma, I had no money, I had no medicine, I had no food, I had no tarps to give out. It was just me, and I was just like, okay, I'm just going, and I'm going to go and meet the people that I know there. I have relationships that I've built over the last decade. I'm going to go and spend time with them, but I have nothing to give them. And I really felt like, I've been a missionary for a decade, but this last year going inside with absolutely nothing, I felt like, oh, now I'm a real missionary because I have nothing to offer. I have my love and the gospel, and that's it. I have nothing tangible that I can give. And a lot of times when you work at a humanitarian group, you can come into a place kind of like Santa Claus, and you can give out food and medicine and money and build stuff, and the villagers love it, and there's a big need for it. But this year when I went back with nothing but myself and the gospel, I remember asking the question, like, I hope that's enough. I hope that's enough for me to be welcomed and accepted by these people because I don't have anything else to give them. And it was enough. And it was really just an incredible thing. But I remember clearly the feeling of like, oh, this is what a missionary really feels like. And this is all a missionary needs, is their love and the gospel. And I also remember a year or so ago really reading about business as missions. And it struck me like, man, every Christian in North America has a business as missions. Like every Christian that goes to work somewhere and works with other people and interacts with the public, that is their mission ground. And we're all called to be missionaries. Jesus says, go and make disciples of all nations. And that means International Falls. That means Duluth. That means Fort Francis. And we're called to go and talk to people about the gospel. And the way that I like to open up that conversation is just by sharing my own story. Like, man, I was a mess in my life trying to be the most successful person I could be. It was very me-centered, and God changed that. And to tell the story of that, it opens up the conversation. And it's not my job here in Northwestern Ontario or Northern Minnesota to convert people. My job is to share the gospel. And the Holy Spirit and Jesus are the ones that save people. I don't save people. Jesus saves people. And so my job is to tell them the good news, to tell them about Jesus. And then we all have free will. They can make a choice, and the Holy Spirit will do his work in people's lives. And so I just think, if you have that nudge, oh man, I want to do missions. It doesn't need to be in Burma, although, come on, you're welcome. It doesn't need to be in Africa. It can be next door. And sometimes the hardest people to minister to are our own families. And yeah, so I just think, tell your story to people, and all you need is the love that you have and the gospel, and it's enough.
What's next for you on this adventure that you're living out, serving the Lord?
I'm going to be around in Canada. I'm traveling around Canada speaking at some churches, and I'll be here for another 2 weeks. And then I'm heading back over. So in 2 weeks, I'll be flying back over to Southeast Asia and heading straight back into the jungle for another year. And we're going to have about 20 to 25 students at the discipleship school. And our next class will begin September 1st and run for 10 months. And so starting September 1st, for the next 10 months, I'll be in the jungle. And yeah, we've got a great couple from Nashville, Tennessee that's coming over to join us this year as teachers at the discipleship school. And yeah, we're just super excited for this coming year and what God's got in store.
So is there anything that our audience can do to support you as you go about your mission?
Yeah, I would first say that people in this district should support Psalm FM because what you guys do here is really awesome. And I have friends that live in Fort Francis, Cam and Delane, and they've got these two young kids, Axel and Barrett, and they've got Psalm FM on 24/7. Day and night it's on. And I just think to myself when I'm there visiting them, like, these kids are growing up with the gospel and worship music as the soundtrack to their childhood, to their upbringing. And I think that is pretty amazing. And so I just think that people in this district should first and foremost pray for this ministry at Psalm FM and support Psalm FM because it's a worthwhile cause. But if God is leading people to support the Jungle Discipleship School, we have a 501c3. We're a partner project. It's called Contact USA, or you can just go to junglediscipleshipschool.com is the easiest way. And then we have a Canadian charity and a US 501c3 where people can give. We have big needs. Our biggest need is prayer, to be honest, because our students carry a heavy burden. There's some bureaucracy that we're still working through for the school, and it's dangerous. And we just need prayer warriors to come alongside us to pray for our school, to pray for our families. And then if people are led to give, we have big needs over there. The students don't pay to come to the school. They have no money. They have nothing. Often, I've had students come that are barefoot. They don't even have shoes on. So we need to provide everything from their school clothing to textbooks to food and shoes and just the whole everything that they were going to need to live for 10 months with us, we have to pay for. And when I first went over, one of the ways I had to trust God was financially. And it was hard to do, but I just felt like God saying, okay, make a budget. I like Dave Ramsey and he helped me out a lot. And so I made a budget and then I felt God say, okay, consecrate this budget to me. So I did. And then I felt just, okay, take out this much money each month. And I was living for the first 5 years overseas on $800 a month. And after 5 years, I thought, oh man, I want to have a raise. I need a little bit more money. And I thought, okay, who should I talk to about this? And then I realized, oh, well, when you want a raise, you talk to the boss. And so I work for God. And so I prayed and I felt God say again, okay, make a new budget with the money that you need and take it out. And so around at that point, I needed about $1,200 a month. And so for the last 5 years, I've been living on $1,200 a month. And when I worked for the Free Burma Rangers, that was enough because the Free Burma Rangers would pay for everything inside Burma. And I was inside Burma for 5 or 6 months, so the money was okay. But after I left the Free Burma Rangers, I was like, oh man, now everything is coming out of my $1,200 a month. And I've got 25 students and staff and food, and it's a lot. And so, I've been praying a lot and just trusting God in the process of fundraising and support raising. And ultimately, I want people to give to God and to pray about it and pray like, hey, Jesus, is this something you want me to give to? And if Jesus gives you a peace about that, then okay, give, we'll take it. But if you don't feel peace about it, then give somewhere else and ask Jesus where you should give. And so that's it for financing.
Now you're wearing a Jungle Discipleship School shirt.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good looking shirt. Do you sell merch?
We do, yes. And this is a fairly new thing. So if you go to junglediscipleshipschool.com, you can scroll down on our site and then we have a little shop and it's all print on demand kind of stuff. So after the cost of the product and the shipping, any money that we make off of the merchandise will go right back to the Jungle Discipleship School and go right into Burma. So it's a good cause to support, and you'll also look very cute wearing Jungle Discipleship School shirts and hats.
Yeah, cute. I'm sure that's what we're all going for.
That was a good word choice.
Yeah. But as we wrap this up, do you have any just general words of wisdom for our audience that you'd like to share from all of your experience?
I guess, okay, the word of wisdom is find people who are further down the road than you are. People, for me, I look for older men who've been Christians longer than I have. They're further down the discipleship road. The older generation has so much wisdom, more than I have. And so for me, when I can find older people in my life to mentor me and to sit at their feet and just to learn from the mistakes that they've had in their lives and the things that they've learned along the way. I find it's really amazing to be in a community with believers and find people further down the road than me and walk with them.
And thus concludes part 2 of our 2-part series of discussions with missionary David Small. To learn more about his ministry or to support it, visit junglediscipleshipschool.com. For Heartland Christian Broadcasters, I'm Greg Kaufman.